I've got a dumb question for you. Would you like to get paid for the rest of your life and maybe even beyond your life? Yeah, I told you it was a dumb question. We're going to find out exactly how to do that with Mark Willis today on The Fearless Investor. Hey, everyone. Welcome into the show. You've got me, Kyle Stanley, The Fearless Investor, right back with you here. And I just want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, go to our website, fearlesskyle.com, and download the Airbnb profit calculator. Guys, Airbnb is still strong. I know some people in some areas are saying, oh, it's not strong. It is strong if you find the will to make this thing work. And I can tell you, so many different ways that people are getting a benefit from our Airbnb profit calculator, because it literally teaches you how to go out and evaluate your market and evaluate a deal. So if you do that, all you got to do, fearlesskyle.com, and right there on the homepage, the Airbnb profit calculator, just type in your name and your email, and boom, it's sent right to you. So looking forward to connecting. If you do that, give me some feedback. I want to see what you think of it or what I can do to help you out. So let's jump into the episode today with Mark Willis. He is the president of the Lake Growth Financial Services Group. And Mark is really teaching us today a lot about the annuities side of things and how this can help you to have income for the rest of your life and maybe even beyond that. And we talk a lot about financial services and financial planners. And we've had Chris Miles on the show a few times. Chris and I do a lot of work together, and he talks about, not having a financial planner mindset, but actually, creating wealth. And that's exactly what Mark is talking about today. We're not talking about savings and talking about like, how do you retire? We're talking about how do you make sure that your retirement is actually paying you for the rest of your life, and whether that's an extra 10 years, 20 years, or 100 years from now. And that's exactly what he is going to give you the tools and opportunity to do. Make sure to stay to the end so that we can drive you to his resources as we talk about, again, creating wealth and income that will pay you for the rest of your life here on The Fearless Investor. Let's get to it with Mark Willis. Okay, we got a special show for you today, guys, here on The Fearless Investor. Mark Willis coming in from Chicago. We had to kind of battle out a little bit before this because he's a little bit of a White Sox fan. I'm majorly a Cubs fan. So we settled that. We're good. Now we're on to the show here. But Mark is a certified financial planner. He's the president of Lake Growth Financial Services. And Mark, thanks so much for being on the show today. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. And tell you what, I hate being a two-timer or whatever, but go Cubs. I grew up with Ryan Sandberg on my TV every Saturday, every day on WGN. I just live up the street from the White Sox stadium, so you really can't go wrong. You get a great ball game no matter which side of town you're on.
I'll live there and go to any of those parks either day. So
especially if it means baseball is back in action again.
Exactly.
I'll take that.
Well, that's a whole other topic. I feel like I can start a podcast just on sports for right now with everything going on. But we're not talking sports. We're talking financial services. We're talking about some really exciting things that, I hear the word financial services, and, a lot of people hear that. They think financial planner. They think of all these things, and it can be kind of a boring subject, but we've got some things to really spice that up today. But before we do, got to ask that question. What is your most interesting investment strategy, story, experience in your entire life?
Wow. Well, there's plenty. I'm going to go with the first story. So very quickly, I had a little snow shoveling business as a kid. I'd say that's one of my best investments, only because you learn a ton. You learn what not to do. I also, really learned the value of a dollar in the midst of that business, in the midst of a cold Indiana winter. And sometimes the snow became ice while you're shoveling. That's not fun. But I think one of the most interesting things for our topic and your audience together today is the truth of having to sweat out those dollars. Letting those dollars just sweat out was something I think over time we all admit is sort of our employee mindset, sort of baked right into us, that we have to fight and scratch and earn that dollar. Whereas I think what you're teaching your audience, and what I think a lot of financial plans are designed to help clients do, is to let their money work and sweat for them instead.
That's awesome. I think it's funny. Anyone who is in some sort of sales or owns a business or anything later in life, it seems like they always had that thing when they were a kid, whether it was a lemonade stand, for you, it was shoveling snow. For me, I actually took all the VHS Disney tapes that I didn't watch anymore and went around and stole them for $1 to all my
All
neighbors. So
right. Nice. Yeah.
I was so dedicated to that I actually one day almost passed out in the middle of the summer because I was just like, I need to make one more sale. So,
Wow. Good for
um,
you.
but
Rock and
anyway,
roll.
enough about me. Let's talk about you, Mark. So, bring us straight into where you're at today. But before that, what were you doing? What brought you into the financial services world?
Well, yeah, the financial crisis was what got me interested. I graduated with 3 private schools degrees between my wife and I, with 6 figures of student loan debt,
Mm,
no income, no job in the midst of the Great Recession, the greatest recession since the Great Depression until this one. If we're in a recession slash depression right now, Kyle. But yeah,
yeah.
what brought me to the financial services industry was I just got obsessed with our own financial lack of plan,
Mm,
right? So I worked for a CPA at the time, and we were working on mostly tax prep for the CPA, but the CPA did a lot of investing as well. And I would overhear her making calls on three-way calls with the client who was very upset, yelling and upset and crying over their 401k becoming a 201k. Their money was
yeah.
cut in half
Just, yeah.
essentially.
Mm,
So I learned very quickly, it almost was like being placed into the financial services world at that moment was almost like being dropped into the front lines of a war and not
oh,
really
yeah.
knowing which side I was on. I thought I knew what was right and what was wrong, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, retail investments, all designed to create income streams for people in their retirement years. But to hear our CPA, who is nationally recognized, really smart person, having to say, "I'm sorry, I just lost you 20 years of your savings,"
Wow. Wow.
was just like a light bulb moment for me, saying, "Do I really believe in this house of cards that we're constructing for folks? And do I really want to do the same thing to my clients and even my own money? Did I want to do that to my own money and my family's money?" So that was our kind of introduction to the financial world.
Wow. So, I mean, obviously you're seeing how all of this gets other people affected, especially from your CPA. But what about you personally? You're 6 figures of student loan debt and having this light bulb moment of coming out of school and realizing what you just studied. Like, did you just say, "Oh shit"? Like, did I really just drop over $100,000 on something that's not going to make people happy? Like, what was the mindset there?
Well, I had no background formal training in finance until I started working on my CFP, Certified Financial Planner designation. Uh, I was focused on another area of life and another career altogether. And how many of us go through college before we even know what we want our life to be
Yeah.
like, and we're spending so much money to just figure it out,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was sort of it was a expensive education, but one I wouldn't trade, of course. It brought us to this point where we are today, and I can be grateful for that for sure.
So if you were going to go back and do it again, you'd still go back to college?
Well, yeah, I'd say at this moment, I'd say the winds of college and the purpose of college is changing. But I'd say
Yeah.
there's no reason to be regretful because it doesn't do anything except live rent free in your mind. I'd like to find the gratitude and the best parts of why we have what we have. It helps contribute to the great story we're all living together.
That's awesome. So bring us forward to today, Late Growth Financial Services. How are you helping people?
Well, I guess you could call us a post-recession planning firm.
Okay.
And until the bull market that started in 2009 lasted 11 years and 2 days, exactly 11 years and 2 days, until this March. And in March, we saw the largest drop as fast as it's happened ever.
Mm,
And we've even seen 2 back-to-back days in the market in late March of the wildest swings, 10% one day, 10% up the next day. That hasn't happened since October of 1929.
wow.
And we've seen a floor, what appears to be a bounce back. Some people would call it a sucker's rally in the market since that terrible down drop in March. And now we're recording this. It's almost May as we're recording this, 2020. And, again, we sort of are back into the market. People are being lured back in like risk doesn't exist. I would like to say that we have abused Wall Street and therefore it's abusing us. So let me
Mm.
explain what I mean by that.
Yeah, please do.
When you're a kid, at least when I was a kid, my parents would say, Mark, use the toy the way it was meant to be used. And if you don't, it's going to break, right? So, I would try like all these creative, weird ways to play with my toys. And ultimately, the toys would break or melt or whatever I was doing with it. And I had a lot of fun. And that's probably a good idea to explore and create things. But I'd say that financial vehicles also should be used in the way that they were intended. Wall Street was never meant to be our knight in shining armor for
Mm.
our retirement future. It simply wasn't. When it was created, it was only for the very affluent to put away money they could afford to lose. Now, let those words sink in for a minute. I would make a distinction between saving and investing. Saving is the money you cannot afford to lose.
Okay.
Things like your kids' college, things like your retirement. You can't not have 30 years where you're not earning an income. So you've got to have a retirement savings versus a investment portfolio, which is money you can afford to lose. That's the distinction I'll make in this podcast. But there's another couple of reasons we've kind of abused Wall Street, and it's mainly to do with the fact that we've kind of outlived our lifestyle. We're expanding beyond our incomes, and there's a lot of reasons for that we don't have time to get into today. Inflation, the devaluing of the dollar. But bottom line is we now spend 137% of our income, meaning
Mm.
we're servicing our debt with a third of our life savings. So a third of our day now works for a bank. If you believe the U.S. Commerce Bureau, 37% of our current income goes to service the debt that we have, our car loans, our mortgages. And so by trying to live beyond our means, now we're having to take the little bit of money we can save / invest and get higher rates of return, i.e. the stock market. So we
Right.
say, hey, we can't save like our grandparents could. So we got to throw more into risky investments,
Mm-hmm.
hope and pray that we get a higher rate of return. And one of the big, I guess, features or paradigms we teach our clients is ROI should not stand for return on investment. ROI should not stand for return on investment. So, Kyle, that's kind of the traditional mainstream view of things is to
Sure.
think, all right, let me get a higher rate of return. I need a higher rate of return. But I would say, let's call ROI a rate of income,
Okay.
a rate of income. So why do we need a big pile of money? Most people who come to us say, well, Mark, if I could just make, $5 million in my bank accounts and my retirement savings accounts, I'll be a happy man. That's my magic number. If I've got 5 million, I can be financially free. And generally I'll probe a little bit in those conversations and I'll say, well, why do you need such an amount? Why not 6 million? Why not 4? And they say, well, I think I can live off that. And so what we're trying to do is we're taking a very complicated formula. We're trying to take a big bucket of money and turn
Mm-hmm.
it into an income stream. So what we're trying to do, it's not about necessarily rate of return. That's just climbing up the mountain. How fast can I get up that mountain? So climbing up the mountain is an important part of the job. And it's okay to grow your wealth and get a higher net worth.
Right.
But what's the point? The point is
That's the
not to
goal. Yeah.
yeah, what's the goal? Is the
Yeah.
goal to plant the flag at the top of the tallest mountain? I say no. The goal is to get back down that mountain safely without dying. In fact, what was it? National Geographic recently put out a study and they said that 85% of deaths are coming down Mount Everest, not ascending it.
Wow.
And I would say the same is true with our retirement.
Okay.
So what do? You have $5 million in your retirement account and now it's time to retire. What do you do next? How much money is a safe withdrawal rate? How fast are you going to come down that mountain
Mm.
without running out of money? Because we don't know a few very important factors. We don't know how long I'm going to live. We don't know what the tax rates are going to be every year, which will affect how much you can spend.
Likely going to be more than they are today.
Amen. Yeah. And 3, we don't know the order or what they call the sequence of returns that the market is going to give you over the next 30 years. Think of it this way. And I've got some math if you want to dive deeper on this, but we can avoid
Yeah.
it if folks don't mind it.
I'm a numbers guy.
Okay. All right. So, if you have negative stock market or market returns
Okay.
in the first few years of your retirement, it can absolutely devastate your income longevity,
Absolutely.
right? So we don't know how long we're going to live. We don't know the tax rate, and we don't know the order of the returns that you'll receive in your portfolio. Because if you take out, let's say you need 200 grand to live on, and you take 200 grand out and then the market tanks like it did in March, even if it comes back some, you've absolutely devastated your portfolio through double pain. The pain of withdrawing 200 grand for your groceries and the pain of the market's loss. So those are three major problems with traditional retirement plans, because our whole financial system is built on climbing the mountain and then leaving everybody up at the top.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. So then what is the solution to that?
Well, I'd say, again, having a focus on coming down the mountain is going to be a huge game changer. In fact, there's some new credentials in the financial space that are all about being a professional in the retirement income space. But I'd say it comes down to finding solutions, tools, and strategies that help you mitigate those risks I just listed there. So again, taxes, longevity, which is a weird thing to be calling a risk. Like, living too long, is that really a problem? More candles on the birthday cake? But that is
If you only have a certain amount saved up, then yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. And then the sequence of returns, those three things, there's probably more, but for our conversation today, that's enough. But the biggest problem of anybody's portfolio is longevity, because the longer I live, the more I'm likely to be exposed to every other risk out there. Inflation, the longer I live, taxes, the longer I live, more chance for those to go up. Heck, even just getting robbed and my money getting taken out of my pocket,
absolutely.
The longer I live, that's going to be more likely, right? War, right? Everything else, deflation. So let's talk about some options. But first, I'm just curious, do you hear that in your conversations with your clients, that need for income?
Well, yeah, I think everyone needs income, whether you are, I mean, I don't know anyone in my circle that would say, no, I'm good, I don't need any more money. Even one of my closest people in my life who is, got everything set up for retirement. It's like, still they're like, wow, if you're looking to me, Mark, if you're looking at your monthly P&Ls, then you're worried about money. You until the day that you can be like, all right, I don't even need to look at those anymore. That means you're not financially free, which very few people ever get to, which very few people even realize is what true financial freedom really means. At least that's what it is to me. But no, yeah, absolutely, man. I'm looking at everything you're saying right now, and just even my perspective too.
Sure. Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, so what are our options, right? And as a CFP, you're really forced to dig into over 450 financial products that are out there in the universe. And you're supposed to hang yourself out there as an expert on all of them. Nobody is. Nobody's an expert on all of that. It's too huge a financial universe. So I decided for myself and for my clients, we'd focus on strategies to help folks become their own source of financing and to help give them a guaranteed income they could not outlive. Because I believe that those two items there solve the majority of problems. It's like the small hinge that swings the big door.
Okay.
If you can solve the need for big purchases through self-banking, and then if you could create a retirement income that never runs dry, even if you run out of income, even if you run out of money, you'll never run out of income. So I'll say that again. Even if you run out of money, you'll never run out of income. Okay. And that's done through only a few things.
Hey, Fearless Flipping community, we are taking a quick break from the podcast to talk about Airbnb. For those of you that don't know, I have built much of my residual income around Airbnb, despite a lot of other investors being really excited about long-term renters. I was not. I saw an opportunity with Airbnb to get to my goals faster, to get more cash flow, and to pay off my houses quicker too. So instead of being really happy like a lot of other investors are with $200 to $300 of cash flow every single month, I've turned my renters and rentals into over $1,000 on average of cash flow every single month. So if you want to learn more about Airbnb, my systems, where I pick my Airbnbs, how I communicate with guests. Maybe you've already got Airbnb as a business on the side right now, but you want to take it to the next level. I am absolutely here to help you. You can book a free consultation with me about Airbnb. Learn more by booking at fearlessflipping.com/consultation, and you get me for 30 minutes for free. That's right, 30 minutes absolutely free. And that's once again, fearlessflipping.com/consultation. And I'm looking forward to helping you conquer Airbnb investing. So before you explain this, I just want to make sure everyone understands what we're talking about. We're talking about people that have been told you need to save for retirement. And if anything changes in the market, or if you even live longer than you're expecting, or if you get robbed, or if you get a sweet tooth for wanting to spend that money more than you were originally expecting, this whole ascending down the Mount Everest of your retirement suddenly gets screwed over. And what you're suggesting, this guaranteed stream of income, can essentially solve that. Am I
Yeah.
summarizing that correctly?
So true. I mean, with everyone looking at what happened to real estate, I mean, we're hearing rumors of rent being waived and, of course, other streams of income very suddenly drying up in the coronavirus mayhem that's being caused. I don't know where the stimulus checks are coming from, but they weren't taxing us for that. So that's printed money right there. So where can we get guaranteed income that won't run dry? And there was a recent Barron's article. It was a special report, and the title was "Special Report: With their steady income payments, annuities are suddenly hot again."
Okay.
And that's the article that really caught my attention. Barron's is a classic investment magazine. I mean, they wouldn't touch annuities with a 10-foot pole. So what good could they possibly say about annuities? That's what got my attention.
Okay.
But here's what they said. They said now that baby boomers are approaching retirement, and they're approaching it every single day, Kyle. 10,000 baby boomers retire every single day now. So that means since the market crash in mid-March, we've had over 600 and almost 700,000 baby boomers reach age 65 in the midst of this coronavirus crisis.
Wow.
So, we're not talking about the, just a theory here. This is a lot of people's real lives we're talking about. And with everyone looking at what am I going to do to turn this, 500 grand, $5 million in my retirement accounts into an income stream, that's the key problem that annuities solve. So I'll tell you a quick story. I live here in Chicago, and down the street is the Ancient Oriental Institute Museum. And this museum is really interesting because it has all this old, cool biblical archaeology and really cool stuff. One of the things that is plastered on the wall, it's this large parchment paper from 300 BC, 300 BC.
Okay.
And it's an annuity contract of all things from like the ancient, Alexander the Great's empire, right? Ancient empires of old. Yeah, annuities have been around for thousands of years. And what is an annuity? It is a bucket of money that can generate for you a stream of income that never runs dry. Even if that bucket went dry, the insurance company that issued that annuity is on the hook to pay you and or your spouse for as long as you both live.
Wow. Okay. So one more time, it's a bucket of money that basically pays you for your entire life and beyond. What's for the beneficiaries?
Yeah. And for you, your paycheck, your grocery money, and your spouse, if you want it to last as long as you both live. And if there's any money left in that bucket, and here's what's different about this than the old-fashioned dusty annuities that are in your grandpa's drawer. The new, more modern annuities are able to pay your kids or your beneficiaries if there's money left in that annuity when you and your wife should pass or your spouse should pass. It's going to leave a death benefit or a remaining of account balance to your heirs.
That's awesome. Okay. So are we calling this an investment or is this a savings?
There's a number of different annuities. We don't have time to get into all of them. I would say that there's some of the annuities out there are tied to the stock market, which don't have my interest only because it's a very expensive way to invest in the stock market. Again, use products the way they were designed. I would say annuities are really there as your foundational wealth plan. Cover all of your needed expenses using an annuity, and then have fun with the additional funds that you could lose and not be bothered by. So I'll give you a couple of quick examples. So
Yeah.
let's say that you wanted to get money right away. You're ready to retire right now.
Okay.
And that's called an immediate annuity. You dump in some money. I had a client who had about she had about $445,000. I'm looking at the notes here from my conversations with her. She was done with the stock market completely. She didn't need to access this money anymore. She just dumped it into an immediate annuity. That $445,000. She had a few choices. She could have put that into, her CDs, let's say, and she would have had about $2,200 a year of income. $2,200 a year of income. That's like $200 a month
Yeah. Not much.
on 400 and almost half a million
Yeah.
bucks. Bond funds would pay her about 3% a year, which would pay her about $1,100 a month. But
Okay.
she'd be really exposed to investment rates going down or up, which would cause the bonds to fall, and she'd lose money. And her income would still be less than half of what the immediate annuity would pay her. So if she put that money into a single premium immediate annuity, basically a big bucket that generates an income for the rest of her life, she'd be in almost 30 grand a year of income off that same
Nice.
dollar, right? So there's actually an old Oscar Wilde quote that says, it's better to have a permanent income than to be interesting at a party.
Just, I would think that makes you interesting at a party.
Yeah, you bet, man.
But then again,
Yeah.
maybe that's why I would never went to parties. So,
Well, think of it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you start bringing up annuities, folks will just move away. I don't especially love the old-fashioned annuities. They're not my favorite cup of tea, and there's a lot of problems with the old stuff. There's more new, modern forms, and I'd love to chat with you about one of them in particular.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's called the fixed indexed annuity.
Okay.
Now, again, I'd like to just step back for a quick second and just say, the compared to what question comes to mind. Are fixed index annuities a good fit for everybody? No way. Don't do
Okay.
this with all your money. Compared to what, though, right? Compared to real estate, are tenants guaranteed to pay you rent? No.
Especially right now. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they move out or if the government says you're free, yeah, exactly. There's nothing guaranteed. So let's just kind of look at it from that perspective, right? It's maybe a safe, predictable income stream. So a fixed index annuity gives you a bucket of money that stays liquid, unlike old-fashioned annuities, meaning you can still access that money if you needed it. So if you dumped in, let's use $1 million as an example. If you dump in $1 million into one of these annuities, you would still have liquid access to that money up to a certain threshold. Many companies will let you get 10% out
No
without
matter
any
the age.
penalty. Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Right. Yep. No matter the age. Then you're able to let that money grow if you don't need income right now. So setting aside $1 million lets it build and grow over time. And there's a lot of ways you can make that money grow. One of my favorites is an indexed account. So let's say that you want to watch the S&P 500. And right now the market is down. It's been coming up some, and a lot of our clients have taken advantage of this. They put their money into a fixed index annuity, and the market is going up, and their indexed annuity is watching that market rebound. Now, that's the interesting word there. It's watching the index. It's not actually invested in that index. So, Kyle, what that means is when the index goes up, they get to participate in the growth of that index. But if the market should crash again, if we're in the middle of a sucker's rally right now, and I don't know what is going on when folks are listening to this, but if the market should crash again, their money is protected. They'll simply get a 0%, no growth, but they won't lose any cash.
It's got a ceiling and a floor.
There you go. Yeah, it's the floor is 0, and 0 is your hero when it comes to your retirement money. In the midst of the downturns, it's the down years that hurt you more than the good years that help.
Got it. Mm-hmm. How is this different from like an IUL, an indexed universal life insurance policy?
Yeah, I am explicitly not interested in IULs or indexed universal life, and here's why. They also follow an index just like that. So if folks are familiar with IULs, you'll understand the indexed part. The problem I have with universal life insurance is that it's an increasing cost buried inside that universal life policy, because every year you age, you get a little more likely to graduate, to pass away. So
Hmm.
that increasing cost is gobbling up your cash value. Whether you realize it or not, your expenses are getting more and more expensive to ensure your aging life. And if the market doesn't go up, you can still lose money, even if your indexed amount on the Index Universal Life policy is zero. So zero is the number. You'll actually watch your cash value shrink as you age. So I don't like that. So mortality credits hurt you in life insurance. Mortality credits help you with annuities. And here's what I mean.
Okay.
You're actually you're no longer on the hook for increasing expenses the longer you live when you have an annuity. When you have an annuity, the longer you live, the more powerful, the higher rate of return you have on your annuity,
Oh, wow.
right? So because the longer you live, the longer you're getting paid. So the greater the return on your investment, or as I like to say, the greater the rate of your income. So in my book, I stay away from Index Universal Life. There's been a number of lawsuits out there on Index Universal Life. Indexed annuities, however, have no increasing expenses. They don't have that same problem.
Nice. Okay. So, since we're on this mode of comparing it to the life insurance side of things, there's no premiums with this. Am I right?
Correct. You can
Okay.
dump in one, well, they still call it a premium, but you're just
Okay.
it's the money you dump into the annuity, whether it's a single premium or a lump sum, but there's no raw cost. Like there's no auto insurance premium with an
Got it.
annuity.
Can I continue to add to it?
Some annuities allow you to add more. Some of them are one and done.
Okay. Got it. So the type of person that would go for this is probably the person that already has the net worth. Am I right?
Well, yes, I would generally tell folks to make sure you've got enough in liquid cash savings for the emergency fund. These are not checking accounts. Annuities are not meant to be like checking accounts. You don't have to be a millionaire to start one of these. I've got clients that are socking away $100 a month into one of these. You know, other folks that are dumping in $1 million or more and letting that be their safe, guaranteed monies. So it really spans the gamut. But I would say keep this as sort of your long-term planning money. Don't use this like a checking account.
Got it. Okay. As we're kind of wrapping up here, what questions haven't I asked? What are things that we haven't touched on about this? Is there a downside of this?
Yeah, again, could you make a higher return in the market? Maybe if the market is up, sure. For example, if the market goes up 10% this year, a fixed index annuity with a 3% spread might get 7%. 10 minus 3 is 7. So the market would have done 10, your index annuity would only achieve 7. So that's a risk. If you think the market's always going to go up 10% every single year. uh, uh,
It's
so
not.
another, yeah. Oh, okay. Thanks. Wow. Good point. I guess another risk is this is not, again, it's not liquid. You would have a surrender fee if you tried to rip the money out of this annuity in the first couple of years. So definitely talk to a professional. I guess that's another risk is if you don't talk to the right person,
Mhm.
you can have a seriously overloaded fee-filled annuity, just like you can have an overloaded fee-filled life insurance policy or any other problematic investment, even real estate. If you don't work with the right folks, mortgages can be riddled with fees. So you want to look at this through a competent professional who can be sitting on your side of the table. We humbly say that we try to do that through our firm at Lake Growth. That's why I, hold the fiduciary standard as a CFP professional. But regardless of who you work with, just make sure you understand. It does take a little vocabulary, just like real estate does,
Yep.
to understand these things. So those are some of the risks.
Okay. Awesome. So obviously, that's a great way for us to tell people how they can get in contact with you.
Oh, yeah, sure. If you go to growmorewealth.com is the best way to reach me or one of my colleagues. All of us have been trained in the bank on yourself strategy and can help talk through the income maximization concepts we've talked about together today. You can also find me at our podcast, Not Your Average Financial Podcast.
Awesome. I love it. And what are some of the things that you're talking about on that podcast? Is it just you, or are you bringing in
Yeah.
experts and
We do
guests?
have we have a co-host, and we have a number of episodes that are us doing some deep dive teaching. We have guests that come on regularly as well. If folks want to dive more into this strategy, especially looking at episodes 80 through 83, we really get into this concept of the income maximization strategy, and you can learn all about it.
I love it. All right. Well, hey, Mark, thank you so much for being on the show today. Is there any last words before we log off here?
Yeah, it's all about getting down the mountain and planting the flag down at base camp, and so you can pass it on to the next generation.
I love it. The flag is not at the top of the mountain. It's on the ascending down way back to the safety part of the mountain. I love it. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you being on the show, and thank you for helping our audience to conquer the world of investing.
All right, man. I'll see you on the baseball diamond.
Okay, the show notes for this one, fearlesskyle.com/Mark Willis, MarkWillis. And that's where you can find the link that he talked about that will help you get connected with him. And this is something, again, he said it right there at the end, whether you're trying to do $100 a month or $1 million a month, this is an opportunity to be able to get on the flagpole on the ascending side of the mountain and not just at the top of the mountain. There's so many people that don't get their retirement and understand the retirement. And honestly, I'm the kind of guy that I don't really know that retirement will ever be in my vocabulary, but most people are always saving for retirement. And what good is that if you're going to rely on something that's not in your control, or if you're going to lose that 10 years into your retirement and you're going to have to go back to work? This is something that can help you to avoid that and help you to live abundantly for the rest of your life. So again, fearlesskyle.com/Mark Willis is where you can find all of his resources, and you can also conquer the world of investing with Mark by getting connected with him. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.